Aye.
And opposed, none, 3-0. All righty. Purpose of this meeting is largely to go over the survey. Jerry is with us. I did fill Jerry in on the fact that we have cut down to essentially two phase one options with a little bit of question about whether the K-8 or the 6-8 middle school would also include construction of a replacement for Chapman. But essentially, we have two options right now that we're looking at for phase one. So that's going to make life a little bit easier. I also asked Jerry if he could be available for our meeting on the 27th with the full committee, which he has excitedly said that he would love to do, just in case some questions come up regarding format and procedure, all those things which he's the expert on and we're not. So what I'd like to do is to go through the entire survey. We're in, well, it says draft 3, but it's the third version of draft 3 I sent you the other day. I called it 3.6, I think. The major changes are on the later pages, page 8, 9, 10, I think. But let's start right at the beginning anyway, and just make sure that we're okay with what we have. Jerry,
It's the one you just sent out today, right, Rich?
What's that? That's the one I sent today, yes.
It's okay, thanks.
So, Rich, I'm not sure I have 3.6, but I
It's
have,
the one that I sent out this morning.
okay, I do have draft 3 in front of me. So I know that you had 3 pages of significant changes in wording, at least. So, but let me go ahead and just process through page 1, the screener A and B. On page 2, we've got quality of life. Those questions, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 3 and 4 are the rating on town services and public schools. Stop me, folks, if there's any issues. I know we're working to get to the support and opposition pages. Page 3, modernizing Cheshire Public Schools. Here we're testing interest and importance, perceived or relative importance assigned to the issue of modernization. Page 4, based on all you know or have heard about the public schools, what should the town consider in the process of modernizing? This is quite open all the way up until a final approval for any additions or minor edits to this. Page 5 is an awareness knowledge section just to determine the respondents' level of awareness or unawareness of a lot of these required needs or facts or issues surrounding the schools, questions 8 through 18. Page 6.
That's where we start hitting some new stuff.
Okay.
Do we want to put that on the screen for everyone? Or is that, I don't know that Arnett, you even have that, but I can open it up if you give me a second here, because I don't have it open yet.
I had a question about question 7. If we're gonna, I don't know if you want to read through all of them and then go back and do questions, or do them as we go through.
No, do them as we go through.
So on question 7, when I'm thinking about the kind of comments we're getting like, we need a new high school, we need a new middle school. I'm wondering if we should reword what should the town consider to be more specific, because none of the responses we're looking for are a new school. We're looking for more, I'm not even sure of the term for it, but can we change that wording a little bit so we can really target what the needs are?
This is question 7 you're talking about?
Yeah, that's the open-ended one.
It says, based on all you know or have heard about the public schools in Cheshire, what should the town consider in a modernization effort? And what are you suggesting?
I just think, we have a few people who comment. I think it could be open to say, oh, we need a new middle school. We need a new high school. And that's not really what we're driving at with the question. So I'm not sure what the correct wording would be, but what improvements should the town consider in a modernization effort? Not sure the right word. What specific improvements?
If I could just chime in. So even if they do get specific about, we need a new high school, we need a new middle school, couldn't it just, I would think that it would just all be lumped into new school construction.
Yeah, the problem is it doesn't really get at why. That's what I'm, if we just had people say middle school, high school, elementary school, we're really not understanding what their priorities are, which is what I thought this question was driving at.
So number 13 now says new school construction.
Right.
Could it be what should the town consider in modernizing our schools? What should the town consider in modernizing our schools? If we ask it like that. Or is that not getting enough out of what you're saying, Kate?
Yeah, I think if we just say, what should we consider? I think the what should we, I'm just looking for something a little more specific, like what are your priorities? What do you think the priorities should be when the town is considered? I don't know.
Or even just what's most important to you as we modernize our schools.
Yeah. Yeah, I think even that would be more specific. We'll still get a few people who are going to say, I want a school, but.
So what do you think, guys?
Is it possible for the online one to say, check off all the priorities that you think are important in modern, like keep it that, but then just make it like check boxes?
Well, yeah, so the way this works is this is open-ended, as you know, on the phone. They're going to rattle off what comes to mind.
Yeah.
On the online survey, they're going to see this list and they'll be able to check.
Okay. All right. Yeah, then I think that solves the problem. I thought on the online one, I misunderstood. I thought online, this was also an open-ended question.
No, they'll actually see this list. But in either version, we can change it to is most important to you in a modernization effort.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds
Okay.
good. All righty,
Thank you.
I'll leave this up if that's okay with everyone.
Okay, so questions 8 through 16, or actually 18. Those are the awareness knowledge. Again, they can be tweaked or added to before the final sign off. The next section, 19 through 24, are just the statements to collect agreement or disagreement with those statements.
Can we go back to 14 for a second? So it says the enrollment growth between 2020 and 2025 will result in overcrowding, but we already have overcrowding at one of our schools. Can we say will increase the overcrowding?
Or
I'm sorry,
accelerate overcrowding?
I'm sorry, Kate, which number are you on?
14.
14.
Thank you.
Did you use the word accelerate? That's good.
Yeah.
Good.
I said accelerate, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just makes it
Accelerate
sound like we don't have
overcrowding.
overcrowding, and we do, so.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Is that okay?
Yep,
All right.
Sure.
so we're
right.
accelerating overcrowding.
19 through 24, any thoughts on the agreement, disagreement statements? Okay, so then what you've done is actually overnight, you've added 3 different scenarios. And what Richard did was plugged in red the language for these 3 on page 6 and page 7. We thought in an email today to Richard that we'd like to add after code 3 under 25, question 25, we'd like to have a place where we have something that reads something like, I'm okay, I don't know how to word it yet. I think I did in my email to Richard, but something like, my goal is to see some modernization, and I'll leave it to the experts to decide which of these 3 directions, but I do favor modernization of the schools. Mm-hmm. So I think we have to give an option to someone who might say, oh, I'm not equipped, I'm not knowledgeable enough to tell you which of these 3 we should go, but I do favor modernization. So there should be a category or a code for them. Yeah. Do you understand what I'm getting at?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I understand, and I totally agree with that.
Okay, good.
My only question with this, Rich, is on 3, we identified that the new K-5 was on the Chapman School land. Can we put a statement, maybe in the 25 itself or after each one, that identifies that all the other ones are on a new school on a new property?
I've written so much stuff lately, I couldn't remember. I think it maybe is clear in the other part. I'm not certain. I don't know. Okay, yeah, I have no problem with that though. New K6, new K8 middle school. Right, and then
well, it does say in the north end of town, which leaves it pretty open.
Like if I was just reading it and I wasn't at the meetings, I would be like, where? Wait, what? Where are you putting that? Are you knocking down one of the, like, I don't know. I just want to clarify it. So,
yeah. So if we said built in the north end of town on a site to be determined.
Yes. Yeah. And just add that phrase to 2 and 3 for the middle school.
And for 3 as well?
The middle school is going on a site to be determined. The elementary school is not.
Okay.
The elementary school that's being talked about in 3 is going to be built where Chapman School is now. They would build a smaller elementary school and then knock down Chapman. The elementary school that's being talked about in 1 is a much bigger, that's a 700 student school that wouldn't fit on that land. That's got to go somewhere else. And land hasn't been chosen for that yet, although they've said clearly it would be in the north end of town because it will take the place of Chapman School, but it'll be bigger than Chapman and take in some other students also. Is it clear the way this is written, everyone?
Yeah, other than that addition, I think I thought it was great.
And I wanted to put in there that it would eventually replace some of these other schools, Chapman, Darcy, Humiston. So they get the idea we're building a new school, but we're taking schools out offline to save money. Although it doesn't specifically say there to save money, I don't think, but.
And I like the way you said, well, all schools will be addressed in the phases.
Mm-hmm.
It's just phase 1, so we don't get the question, are you never doing it?
Yeah, and we made the decision last time to focus on phase 1, which I think is smart because after talking last night, the other phases are still very uncertain.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
by the time we actually put this out, we may be down to 2 options, though, right? I think timeline-wise.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, we're essentially at 2 options now.
Yeah.
The only difference was there was a question about whether the 6-8 middle school should include the elementary or not.
I think I would
Yeah.
like to keep that in there, just to make sure that we kind of get a feel for how the public feels about those options 02 versus 03. I think it would
Yeah.
be good, even if we do go with one of those, it'd be smart to get the public opinion on how people feel about the other one.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I added in number 3 just this morning, based on our meeting last night. So
Can I ask a question
sure.
about number 1? In parentheses, it says adding elementary space and eventually replacing Chapman, Darcy, and Humiston schools. We're replacing Chapman with the new elementary. I'm not sure if that really makes sense to say replacing Darcy. We are,
Maybe closing instead of,
yeah, I mean, we are kind of replacing Chapman with a new elementary, but we're closing Darcy and Humiston. So I'm not really sure how that should be worded, but I just want to make sure it's clear that we're not building a new
Yeah,
Chapman.
in my
we're building a new
mind, I mean,
Darcy.
Humiston was a little bit of a question.
Right.
Darcy, I felt, even though we wouldn't directly be taking all the Darcy kids and moving them to the new school, we would be taking kids probably out of Highland, moving them to the new school to make room for, and out of Doolittle to then make room for the kids that are at Darcy presently. So in the long run, we are replacing Darcy by doing that. Humiston was a different
Right.
deal because Humiston, we were talking about possibly putting the school offices into the new school, but the alternative high school, we were looking at, a rental space or something like that.
maybe
So-
instead of eventually resulting, we could say, or eventually resulting in the closure of.
That's probably cleaner.
Yeah, I just want
instead of
people to read that
replacing.
and read that and think, oh, we're gonna just replace Chapman, we're gonna replace Darcy, we're gonna replace Humiston. It's more of a consolidation.
Mhm.
So I just
Yeah.
didn't want it to be misunderstood.
So
So
we-
Jerry, did you get that wording?
Yeah, so you're replacing Chapman, but you'll eventually close Darcy and Humiston?
No,
And
we're
maybe-
saying, sorry, Jen, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm just saying maybe use the word consolidate. And we're not really sure exactly
Ah.
where everyone's going to go, but possibly consolidating Chapman, Darcy, and Humiston into other schools. I'm not really sure how it should be worded, but
I was thinking if we said, instead of eventually replacing, we just change it to eventually resulting in the closure of Chapman, Darcy, and Humiston. It kind of leaves it open to where those kids are going, but it does result in the closure of those 3 buildings.
yeah, I like that.
Okay, sounds good.
Same
Good.
for all 3, Jerry.
And that's, the same wording, I believe, is used in all 3.
Okay.
And the only difference was Dodd, when we're talking, Dodd is a part of the K-8 also. Right, so we okay there?
Let me just, place of chat. Yeah, okay. Yep. Thank you.
All right, so then you're moving into the dollar amounts. And if it's okay with you, we'll put the highest one on top and go first with that, and then the medium, middle, and then the lowest dollar amount in that order.
Yeah, these are in no special order as far as I'm concerned. I just didn't know if you wanted to make the order of the section before, where we had 01, 02, 03,
Yeah,
to
we'll
match
keep.
the order that you have here.
Yeah, we'll keep them this. We'll switch question 25, the order for whatever we do with 26, 27, and 28, or the dollar amount questions. So let me ask you, just for my background information, here we are doing a survey. We're asking them their preference for what approach to what's being done. And we're collecting that in the previous question you just worked on. But then we're asking about the dollar amounts for each one of the scenarios. Are there people in town that would be okay at the highest dollar amount but not for the scenario that we're naming. Do you know what I mean? I guess I'm trying to.
Yes, I know what you mean, and the answer is yes, there would be people.
A lot of
I
people.
agree with Ann. Yep.
Well, I almost think it's the opposite. I think that there are people who will tend to look at this and just say, I'm going to make my decision based on the dollar amount. Not so much that I want to spend, the amount that the K-8 school would cost, but I don't want a K-8 school. I think they'll look and say, I want to spend as little as possible. So if we can get by with what the elementary school is, and that's fine.
I think that'll come out in question 32, or I'm not sure what number it is on here. When you say, tell us things that you would like to see to help support it.
Uh-huh.
That would be an appropriate place for them to say, I don't care how much it costs. I want a new high school right now.
Right.
Those would be the kind of people who would say, I don't care how much it costs, but I don't like what you're doing. But I think
my concern with what we have presently is just that they don't have all the detail, all the information as to what are the pros and cons between doing an elementary school versus a middle school. And so a lot of people may have a gut feeling as to which way they want to go, but a lot of people are just going to base it on whatever the dollar figures are without necessarily having all the information.
And just to clarify, for this 26, 20, whatever the numbers are, you're changing the order, so the last one is going to be first. Did I hear that correctly?
It'll go from highest dollar amount per month to lowest dollar amount per month, and then yep. So it looks like the $51 per month will be on top. Yep.
The number 30, which is now $53. I got some information this morning which changed that.
Okay.
It was.
So, Jerry, are you thinking that we should be asking the question sort of agnostically? Just would you support school modernization at $40 per month, or would you? Is that what you're suggesting?
Well, I'm not suggesting it. I just want us to. Now's the time to think this through and talk it through. The problem that we have here is just as I described. Someone might be okay at a very high dollar amount, but that's just not the plan that they would want to support. So they'd oppose it, but not for the reasons of the dollar amount. They'd oppose it because that 6 through 8 middle school is not what they want. They want something else. So the alternative is to ask their preference, as we did in the earlier question, but then just get into the dollar amounts, which would read something like, regardless which one of these scenarios is a finalist, how likely would you to support the modernization scenario at $51, at $40, at $20 per month? But then it's, as you say, it's generic, and it doesn't identify and get specific about the scenario, the school.
Maybe it would be better in question 25, the one that's coded neither of these options. Maybe we could leave that open as other and leave it as something they could fill in. We
can add an other. Yep. Things like, if we leave it the way this is, and it's really not, it's not wrong, but we could add things like that, which will help get to our understanding of their preferences. So that's a good idea to add an other to that. I kind of
like the idea of having them less specific to the actual projects and just use the dollar amounts, whatever one, because they don't have all the information they need. This was decided in a committee that has been meeting for a year now, and we're deeply immersed in all of these scenarios and what's behind these 3 scenarios coming out front. So the dollar amount matters because we need to know whether we can do that big one with the 2 big projects together.
Yeah, the only problem I have with making it generic is I like to know what I'm getting for my money. Like if I'm paying 50, like I would want to know if I'm paying $53 a month, I'm getting 2 brand new schools. Like that might influence me to say, oh, for 2 schools? Absolutely. Because for 40, I can get 1. Why wouldn't I want to? So that's
And
kind of my
that-
thinking of keeping it more specific.
And that's the struggle we have here, because if you do just go for the dollar amount and not fill in the details of what it is, a lot of people might say, well, it depends. It depends on what I'm going to get.
Yeah.
So that's the struggle here.
And I know that was part of Jen's conversation last night as we talk about the elementary school. It's a school which only affects some kids in town versus the middle school that affects everyone in town. So I think it's important to take a look at what are you getting for the money.
Mhm.
I just noticed, by the way, Jerry, the typo on the bottom of 28. It says building of a new, I just highlighted 6-8 middle school, but that's about the elementary school. So that should be changed.
Say that again, Richard. Show me. I'm sorry.
Number 28 on the
Okay.
bottom. I had copied and pasted evidently. So it says, how strongly would you support or oppose building of a new, that should be 700 student K-6 elementary school, where it says 6-8 middle school.
Gotcha. Got it.
See that? And then I didn't look at 29. Okay, that's 28, 20 middle school.
Could we maybe, for people who do want more information, could we put a link to one of our documents that has more information about each of the scenarios?
Yeah, that's easy to do in online. At the end of the survey, we can provide a link. If you want to learn more about this effort, here are resources for you. And we could, at the end of the phone survey, just say, would you like me to give you a link or information on how to get more information? So yes, we can do both.
But they won't have that while they're doing the questionnaire itself.
No, and
Well, they could, if we gave them like just a table or chart and we said, if you need more information to answer this question, please click here. They could click out of it and come back.
But remember, the main part of this question, the main part of this thing is the 400 people that we call.
Yeah.
Other people can log on, but Jerry made it clear statistically, it's the 400 phone calls that actually give you, the majority of your, data. The others may be very skewed depending on, who decides to jump in. And if you're doing it by a phone call, there's no way you can get that kind of information to people.
Yeah, and it's an even playing field if we don't. We could, at the end of the online survey, provide that link.
The other question that I had on here is we originally, as you can see, had put in the amount per year that the taxes would go up. And it was suggested by people that we change that to per month.
Yeah,
Is that something that the committee agrees to?
I do.
absolutely.
Yeah, I like the per month.
And these numbers, just so you're fully aware, these were based on what Jim Justcott gave us. And what they say is, here's an average house in town. And based on an average house in town, here's what a bond issue would look like. Now, the bond issue changes from year to year. So there are years that, it may only be half this amount, and there are years it's going to be a little bit more than this amount. This is what the average of that 20-year bond issue would be. So, I don't know if that will come up with the full committee. We do have some people that were, even talking yesterday about, reassessment and things like that. But you can only get into so much detail
Right.
in these questions. We can't be running through saying in year 1 it'll be this amount, in year 7 will be that amount. By year 20 it goes down. So we're just giving them, this is the average amount for an average house.
Is it possible, or would it be helpful to add a question between the the scenario numbers and the next one that is a more generic question, like how much per month would you think would to support school modernization, and allow them to pick from a variety of numbers?
Well, their choices in the end aren't going to be any higher than $51 and any lower than
53, Jerry, 53.
53.
Yeah, you got to change that 103 to 106 and the 51 to 53. That our consultant gave me some new numbers this morning after I sent this out.
I was just thinking it would give us some information about all the people who would say 0, because that would give us an idea about people who are very likely going to vote no.
Well, they're going to say, I'll probably oppose it at the dollar amount.
Okay.
And the question is focused on the dollars.
Yeah.
Anything?
All right, so I'll work on those questions. Do you want to move on to question 32?
Yep.
So question 32 is just that open-ended, looking for 3 or 4 reasons or things that they would need to see, hear, or better understand. Then the communication section is 33. 34 is social media. History within the schools visited. 36 is reasons for those visits. And then the demographics.
On 34,
Yep.
Parlor is still shut down. Do we remove it?
You can remove it, but it's coming back. They're working on the new platform, new host, so it should be back. Their site is still up if you go to it. So, if I had $1 billion, I'd help them out a little. And that's it through the demographics. So tomorrow morning, I will send draft 4 over to Richard. And then Richard, if you want to just glance over it before you give it or send it out, if there's anything I missed, that would be great.
I have one more demographic.
Yep.
Rich, we had talked about in our prior meetings trying to collect contact information from people who might want to be like in an email group.
Yeah.
Would this be an appropriate place, particularly in the online one, because they'll type it in? Would this be a place where we could add that? If you want more information, please put your email here.
Be fine with me. Is that something you do there, Jerry?
Yeah, you're not. If we were using one of our national partners panels, they wouldn't let you do that, but this is going to be open to the public, so you certainly can do that on the online version. Yeah.
But you wouldn't do that on the phone calling one, would you?
We can pause and ask them to give us their email address.
I mean, it's supposed to be an anonymous survey, so you have to make it very clear that it's.
Yeah, they might start getting a little nervous if we start asking them about information. But it is at the end of the survey.
I'm fine if we just do it on the online one, because,
That's by choice.
yeah.
And,
Right.
I'm just saying,
Agreed.
if you want more information, provide your email and we'll send information out to you as it's available.
Jeff, did you say I agree or I disagree?
No, I agree. I think the online would be appropriate. The phone, I think that starts to cross the line of anonymous.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we're missing here?
What about that male female thing at the end? I thought we were going to do the whole list.
Well, there's 2 there. We put 45 there for the online version. Internally in our office, it was thought that we should just stick with what we do on the phone, and that's just to click it off as male or female. you do run the risk, and for the 5 people that choose something out of 400 other than man or woman, you run the risk of getting someone angry by running through that list, because not only are you asking a woman if she's a man on the phone, but then you're asking them if they're transgender.
Yeah, I get it.
For 5
Yeah.
people, it's not worth the risk of all the calls that are going to come into town hall.
I hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, when it comes to stuff like this, I stay clear. And no matter what you do, you're going to upset somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. You may get a call from someone just, you
Yeah,
know,
it's gotten to be a sticky area.
What if instead of asking their gender, we ask their sex?
No, that's not okay. It's, you can actually say, what are your pronouns?
Yeah, that's
If you
what-
want, but sex is very different from gender.
Yeah.
Do you think it's important in the analysis? Is it even important what anybody's gender is?
I think you're going to be, we're always fascinated and many times surprised by the differences between views of males versus females. I think in a lot of these, females are more supportive of school issues, school spending. So I think you need to know that if you're going to be campaigning and prioritizing and profiling your likely supporters and the likely folks who are opposed. Because when we talked about this earlier, you know, we're hopefully going to present a profile of your likely supporter and your unlikely supporter or your opponents. So it's just,
Yeah, we need to know.
yeah.
Great, thanks.
Okay, so are we all set with this at this point? Any issues?
I think it looks good.
Okay, then if that's the case, what the timeline now is, Jerry will take the things that we discussed today. He'll incorporate those, send it to us, or send it to me. I'll go through and just make sure we've, worded what we wanted all those items to be. And then it's going to go out to the full committee. Could be tomorrow, could be over the weekend. I want the committee to have a chance to take a look at it and respond to us probably by the end of the day, Monday. We have our meeting on Wednesday, and I would like to have responses ahead of time so that we can react to any of those. And then Jerry is going to be at our Wednesday night meeting. So as we go through, if there are questions, he can support us there.
Would you like to go through the survey first in our meeting on Wednesday so that Jerry doesn't have to sit through our entire financial analysis portion? Or do you want him to get through that first and then have the answers to those questions before we go through the survey?
I personally, are you asking it to put him first on the agenda, you mean?
Right. Do you want to have him go first on the agenda so he doesn't have to sit through the rest of the meeting? Or would you
Yeah.
rather have that meeting so that we have answers to be able to finish the survey afterwards?
Oh, I see what you mean. I hadn't even considered that. I was hoping we could put the survey first, have Jerry do his thing, but you're right. It's possible the committee could make some change, for instance, on this number 30 with the 2 different schools on there.
You think we're going to make a change? What are you talking about?
No, this committee has never made a change. How many? Are we back to 16 options or what?
Stop it.
No chance I'm letting that happen.
Well, I think, even if we approve it, I assume that even if the committee later did something that would alter it.
We can follow back up.
I don't know, Jen, what do you think? You're the chairman.
I mean, it would be great to have everything for the options and the financial analysis analyzed and decided, and then decide on the survey. But that it's going to be a very long meeting, I think. So I understand if we want to do the survey first and get that done. And then if anything happens during the meeting, we can follow up with him afterwards. I think that might be the best use of his time.
Yeah.
So
That would be fine with me, as long as the committee the full committee can actually approve the survey to go out. Even if at the end of the meeting, they say, based on the decision we just made, we'll, have to alter something, but, that would be fine with me, that Jerry doesn't have to sit through the whole thing, but, when I mentioned earlier that the meeting last night was 3 hours, he was kind of excited by that possibility.
So we could do that. I mean, Jerry, if you want to sit through the meeting and listen to all of everything that we're talking about, that's an option as well. I didn't want to waste your time, but.
Yeah, no, I can be in attendance. So whatever works for you, that's fine with me. The only thing that I would ask, Richard, especially when you do send this out, we wanted to keep this at around 40 questions. By adding those 3 open-ended ones, we've bumped up to 44 now, or actually 46. So we have to make it clear to people that if they have ideas and suggestions for addition, they also should send along a recommendation for a deletion.
Yeah, I agree. A long survey.
Yeah, I'm hoping, beyond hope, that the committee will look at it, say, nice job, we vote in favor. I can think of a person or two who may have some suggestions of their own.
You can hope all you'd like, Rich.
Yeah.
Exactly how much praying are you doing between now and then?
My prayers are never answered, so I don't think it's going to help, but we'll see.
Given the likelihood that we may have changes, and if Jerry doesn't mind, I would recommend doing the survey after the discussion, if that's okay with everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, your call. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I think since we're going to be going through, since we have these questions in here that have some detail as far as costs and, it's just going to be, kind of a hassle to have that first and then goes through the stuff that Jim Jazz got afterwards. I think people would be kind of frustrated with that. So
Yeah,
I agree. We should have the survey portion after. It's just unfortunate for Jerry.
Would it be appropriate when we introduce this to the committee to ask them not to do little tiny wordsmithing and really just focus on the big ideas, things that are missing or things that can be deleted, so we don't spend time. I just don't want to get caught in the weeds on the little words and spend hours on something that shouldn't take that long. Can we
Well,
do
that's
that?
why I was hoping we could send this out over the weekend, and any
Yeah.
issues or questions they have to submit to us in writing
Okay.
ahead of time.
Then
Based on that, we would do any, little wordsmithing or changes. And then, once we get to the full committee meeting on Wednesday, I would hope if somebody at that point raises questions, say, you had an opportunity already to offer input. And, we can't be sitting here with a committee of, 13, 14 people wordsmithing this document.
Well, yeah, I mean, it starts to, feel like there's no need to have subcommittees if we're just going to review all these tasks in the full committee and go through 46 questions again.
And keep in mind, this subcommittee, we opened up to everybody. Ian was the only one who took us up on it, but every single member was asked, do you want to be part of, developing the survey? So for them to jump in at the late hour and say, I want, something totally different, would be very inappropriate, I think.
Or even if, as Kate says, they want to just wordsmith this, that, or the other thing, just say no.
Yeah.
It's done.
And I see Jen's been pretty good at that lately,
Yeah, Jen.
Yeah,
Jen,
Jen,
I give you real props for last night.
Now we're moving on.
thank you.
Just ask him for the comments before the meeting, and then have him, have them there prior to the meeting. Be fine.
Yep, and we just
Yeah, well, that's why I
discussed
say,
it
I
last
think
night.
if they have
Yep.
comments, they can present those ahead of time, and we can respond to those, so that when we get to the meeting, hopefully it should just be, we approve this, we're moving it on. Okay, if there's nothing else on the survey, we have just a couple other quick things. First of all, back on the survey for a second, Jeff is going to be taking a lead on getting this out. So he's going to work with the Cheshire Herald on making sure that we have an article in there and getting the information out to some of the other community groups, Chamber of Commerce, some of the sports groups, things like that, on how they can access the online survey and some of those things. So he's our point man on this. If you have suggestions and ideas, particular groups that you would like to get some information out to, run all that through Jeff. Okay, thank you, Jeff.
Of course, thank you.
And just a quick note on that, Brooke should have sent over just a draft news release. Jeff, did you get that today?
I did not.
Okay.
I didn't see anything.
I'll search. I get 200 to 300 emails a day, so I'll have to search.
Wow. I'll make sure it went out to you.
Yeah, usually I would have gotten it also, and I did not. So
Right. Yeah, I asked for Rich to be CC'd. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
so so we'll get that out. And then number 5, video plans. I've been talking to Jim, and Jim, if you want to just speak briefly about some of the ideas that we've been bouncing around.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have an update just yet. Andrew and I are going to try and catch up over the weekend. I had a thought of, originally I had the idea that we could just sort of do, each of us kind of round robin sort of thing. I just don't know that that's going to be that compelling and engaging, and if everybody really wants to do that. So I'm on to another idea of making sort of a little 4 or 5 minute kind of YouTube show, calling it a show. I don't know exactly what it's going to entail just yet, but I'm going to catch up with Andrew, I think, over the weekend. It's kind of like a weekly roundup of things that are happening on the SMC and things that we want people to be aware of. And, I don't know exactly what the structure or content is going to be just yet, but I do, I'm going to catch up with him this weekend on it, and hopefully we'll be able to get something together here as far as a first episode here pretty soon. So
yeah, I think, at this point, we're just trying to get the information
out there.
As many facts as we can.
Yeah, we need to get the information out there. We also need to make sure people are engaging with it, though. It isn't. We're doing a good job. You're doing a good job, and we're all putting information out there. But clearly, being likes and comments and at least I don't get the sense that there's a lot of engagement with what we're putting up. So we need to. I think we need to go the video route like we talked about, but have some work to do on that front.
The one place where we can get a fair amount of video eyes on it is through Jeff Stolen. He's not going to want to send something out every week or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, but he is willing to use that listing that he has to do some short videos that are factually oriented to get out to the parent groups. Jeff also shared with me yesterday an editorial that he's written, a letter to the editor, and he said that the Herald is planning on doing a special issue which will go out to everybody in town, not just those people that have subscriptions. I'm hoping that they're going to put a number of things in there. I was disappointed today that Kate's letter was not in this week's issue. Maybe they're saving it for the special issue that they're looking to do. I don't know. But when I had talked earlier to them, they had semi-promised that they would get a letter in every week from our group. And that lasted for 1 week.
Might need to follow up with them every week, every Monday.
Yeah, we've got to keep pushing that. Any other issues, items from the committee?
Can you send the list of who's doing the letter to the editors on which week again? It's like buried in my emails, and I don't even know when I'm up again. Did we get another article in the patch yet, or just the first 2?
No, there's just the 2. I mean, I put those in the patch, and the patch, I have an account and I just put those in. Jim is up next, Jeff's after that, then me, then you, Kate. So you got to wait. And it just goes round and round that way, but I can send the schedule out again. Jim and I were talking today. As I said, Jeff's going to focus on the survey. I've got one written, which I don't know if I'll use. I had shared part of it with you a while back. It was all dealing with the high school. And I rewrote it saying, here are the issues with the high school, but here's why we're not starting with the high school. I'm not certain yet that I want to do that. And whether it will confuse things or placate people, I'm not certain yet. So I have that one written, but there's lots of other ideas I have if you run dry and don't have an idea of what to write about.
Can you include them on when you email us the schedule, some of your
Yeah,
ideas?
sure. Yeah, I
Thanks.
can add that too. And you can just pick and choose some things. Anything else?
Not for me.
If there is not, then I will take a motion to adjourn.
So
Nice.
moved.
Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor?